Yes.
Yeah.
Okay. And then I have two screens, so I could see you all very big, which is fun. If it lets me. Okay. So maybe we'll start in reverse order just in case Patty and anybody else joins. Mitch, is that okay?
Yeah.
Okay. So I'll move to talk a little bit about the DSNI project. Very briefly, we are in the middle of schematic design right here with the red bar. And we thought we would be finished in May. We will be finished in July. It turns out the funding forms that we need to submit to the city aren't due till August and then November. So we're on track with what we need to be doing. And we're going to give you an update with where we are with the design. Essentially, the next steps are going to be, we've had a bunch of community engagements. We've gotten feedback. We've had a workshop where some of you were present. And the last one, the last two, I should say, number 3 and 4, were really to present 3 ideas that were developed during the design charrette and taken by our team and developed further. And we needed feedback from the community, but it took actually 2 sessions to get sufficient feedback so that we could decide on one way forward and then develop a preferred scheme. The preferred scheme most likely will be presented in early July to the community.
So have you picked the preferred scheme?
Mm-hmm. Really hard question.
That's a hard question. We will talk about it. We will talk about it in a moment. So just to remind everybody, this is the site. It's bordered by 3 busy streets. In particular, Julian Street to the left is very busy. And right now, you can tell from the grading, it's on some kind of a mound with a flat area where there's play equipment. And, all along, we thought about it as a play space. And we thought we could introduce the idea of a landscape play space. And I'm telling you this because our conclusion from all the feedback is quite different. And what this is showing you are the 3, in the top row, the 3 concepts that were conceived during the charrette, which was held on January 25 in 2025. And below, you see essentially the 3 schemes that were taken further by the teams. And we've named them the path, the meander, and the loop. You can interrupt me whenever you like, just if you have any comments or questions. So the developed concepts essentially look like this. This is the path. And you can see that we have moved a lot of the terrain to configure a very different idea where it's more friendly to the passersby on the sidewalk. And we built up the terrain to the back a little bit. It essentially joins the 2 sidewalks from Galen to Julian Street with a path that intersects a resilient, pervious play surface with a lot of play equipment for the children. Uses bold colors, and it limits the landscape to the periphery. There's a shade structure, a climbing structure, and so on. And of course, those aren't very prescriptive. We wanted to see, to populate it and get reactions. we provided some kind of a key with imagery to illustrate what these are, because a lot of people can't read plans. And we did do aerial views.
This one's great.
And perspectives on the ground to convey to the community what the space might look like.
Are these things that are, oh God, I got this thing. Sorry. Are these things actual available designs or items from
Yes.
commercial?
Yeah.
Yeah.
This actually, the tall one is a compan item. This is, we found on the internet, and I'm not sure where this was found, but I think these are all commercially available.
Uh-huh.
And that's not, you know, in our minds, it's neither here nor there. They're just conceptual at this point, and to see what, you know,
Right,
people will.
right.
And also maybe in this scheme, we can think of this one being the maximum has a surface for play. So it was the maxed out
Yes,
scheme of them all. Yeah.
right. You'll see the character is very different in each, right?
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
And of course, the idea is to use native plantings, things that
Which-
don't necessarily require a lot of maintenance.
Which
But-
these are not, though. In
Which
that
these
view.
are not, right?
Not
These were,
necessarily. There are many
right,
yeah, adapted and some exotics maybe, but yeah.
So this scheme was the path. Adrian, do you want to present the meander?
Oh, sure. Yeah, this is a second one where this is more about the immersive experience. And the idea, again, it was very tied to the play. So the team worked, so there were 3 teams working on each option. This team worked a lot into fitting different play experiences into the 3 areas that are shown in orange. And there was a bottom that were cascading down to a bottom circular area that was more of a community oriented. In this scheme, there was a game or playing the corners in 2 different ways. The more dangerous one was a little pulled off of the corner, and the other one that was the calmer one. It was where it was easy to access, right, for our community, where all the social action should happen. Very direct connection to the street, but I believe that this past Saturday, the feedback was other. They would maybe prefer to make it safer. So maybe we're considering that if this were to move forward, the two ends of the path would be more protected. And the other thing important about this scheme, this was kind of this path and the terraces for play were one system, where the water collection was another system overlay into
Oh, we
this.
can show that. I have that if you want.
Yeah. So there was an idea of capturing the water. Maybe it's a little overblown of what we can do there, but the idea is that you see maybe the little gorges there as they become a bioswale. I think they will happen this way, but maybe there's not as much water as we hope. So if this were to advance, we will need to maybe think a little better how to really convey all the water there, so it becomes a feature, a water feature when it rains. The planting here is probably what it was meant for the other scheme too, much more like naturalistic maybe, or native looking, a little bit less gardeny, right? This is more or less what we're aiming with all 3 schemes in terms of planting.
Yeah.
A lot of grass, how to say, meadow-like when we can. There's not much room in this property, so whenever we have a good chunk of sun, we'll try to go more native and grasses. So
This one has a feel of much more of a landscaped park with integrated play.
Yeah.
It, you know, I think the endeavor to manage the water was very carefully thought through, and of course it needs much more development, and as
yeah.
Adrian said.
But it's the most immersive.
Yeah.
That was the concept. The other was maxing out a surface. This one is more about making a immersive landscape where the play occurs through it, right? You know, and there's this winding path is about the experience, but it's also the experience of the visual experience, but it's also about having a consistent slope down. So you never need to go above 2% with a stroller, for example. So there are no steep slopes along this path. So it's a longer path to accomplish that. Yeah.
And where we have wet areas, you know, bioswales and so on, we are, as you can see, suggesting decking that you could walk continuously over or look over, and then of course it'll be absorbed eventually. It's not meant to be standing water because that'll breed mosquitoes.
Right.
Yeah.
And so you get a sense of how this is conceived.
It's beautiful.
It's quite beautiful, I would agree. And lastly, the loop. The loop diagrammatically is much more clear cut. It suggests a play area in this zone and a more social gathering area in this zone. And essentially, you enter and connect to the loop from Galen Street and Julian Street. And of course, all three schemes are fenced and gated. So no children are at risk of running into the street or anything like that.
Is this, can I ask a question?
Of
Or
course.
want me to wait? What's the surfacing situation in this one? Is the blue and the yellow, are those both the poured in place rubber, or what are they?
Yeah,
For now, yes.
Yes, for now that is. It's the pervious rubberized surface.
So what looks like the path through the blue is the same material and at the same grade, it's just a different color?
Different color.
Yeah.
Uh-huh.
And the back here, for example, looks kind of like this, right? Right, Crisula? Right.
So there's quite a bit of grade where those three things are.
That's right, at the back here. Not dissimilar to the first scheme we looked at, right?
Yeah, and the second too, but the second tried to do like a planted slope only.
Right.
They didn't explore too much the slope as a social gathering with the bleachers or a play like this one.
Right.
Do you have perspective renderings here too?
Yes.
Yeah.
So here is the bird's eye view. And here are some of the perspectives.
It was no time to change, so the placeholder plants were all flowering. It was not time to change.
They're not
like
really realistic, right?
Yeah, and also this, please imagine all the planting like the second scheme, because these are garden level maintenance that need a lot of water, you know, and maybe two gardeners full time. So when you think think of the second one as the character of the planting.
I have to say something regarding the different teams. They all worked so hard to produce these. They really did.
You can tell, yeah.
They did an amazing job, and not everybody had the same skill level. And so
or software
to
design
right?
it. Yeah,
Right.
that was a big pitch we had to
So
get over.
there was a constraint with time to keep working on the planting on this. The concept was understood, but
yeah,
it would have taken a lot of replacement of all the instances. So yeah.
Right.
Is this a bioswale under the bridge?
That's right.
Yeah, so
Between the
Similar
two,
idea.
right. The idea is that this is a bioswale that collects some of the runoff, right? And that there are boardwalks that continue the path, right? And we could, put boulders and whatnot that go down so the children can climb those as well to get to the water feature.
When you're saying water feature, what do you mean?
I just mean after a storm, you're going to end up with water until it's completely infiltrated.
I think it's an ephemeral water feature. Maybe that's the way to.
Yeah, ephemeral.
But it's in the grasses.
Yes.
Right. So there are a few
right.
ways to do that with the level of percolation of the soils and the grading. They can be like damming elements like reclaim, how to say, road curves could be used like that. So and it's always a small amount of water that either goes through a reel or just infiltrates down through the soil. So
that's right. And the
but
goal
there's
is
no actual water feature like a sprinkler or a
no.
not in principle.
don't-
When they saw
right
some
now-
of this, some of the community members say, "Oh, but you could add water because there wasn't a blah 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 blah." It's like, no, because you need to treat it.
You need to treat it. It's expensive, and we don't think for this site it's a good use of the funding.
And also, if you treat the water for human proximity, then you add a lot of chlorine and stuff that is not good for the plants. So in a way,
but
it has to be.
You couldn't do what most parks do with water features, which is just city water?
We don't have a water point on the site.
Connection, yeah.
Okay.
That's another point, yeah.
Yeah, okay.
Right. So a few more images. Okay, so let's talk a little bit about our takeaways. The team has seen our meeting notes. I should circulate them to certainly Mitch, to you and Patty and anybody who's interested, if you're interested. They're not very long. And I think Adrian and I chatted about this, that the feedback we received from both sessions is indicating to us that there are 2 playgrounds within half-a-mile walking radius of this. And they have good equipment and they're heavily used. And that the biggest need, it turns out, in the community is more a multi-generational landscapes area, social gathering space, where maybe it integrates some play experience for the children, but where different people from, the family, different generations can actually go and relax and have a good time and watch their kids, not a playground with some trees or landscaping around.
That makes a lot of sense.
It makes sense, right? But because they put an emphasis on the Trina Prasad playground that exists and asked us to renovate it, all along we made the assumption that is what they really were looking for.
Yeah, but at the community meetings when we sketched out the initial ideas, it definitely was stressed that they needed a covered community gathering space. So
covered and
uncovered. To be able to put a bigger emphasis on that and make that like the center of attention, yeah, I could see that being very successful.
The other part also, which is telling, is that when we toured the playgrounds, their favorite was by far Martin's Park, which is very much of a landscaped environment with some built-in play experiences for the children. So these are our takeaways. And our next steps for this project is we're not going to continue as 3 different teams, each focused on a scheme. we're going to take one scheme forward and develop it to integrate some of the feedback we received, specifically the details of what they like and don't like and what they thought was successful. And the basis, I would say, of the scheme that will move forward is likely going to be the meander. Isn't that right,
Yeah, we
Adrian?
call it the meander. Mostly because two reasons. It gives us enough number of different meeting spaces. They never thought about one big space. Some people want, for example, music, so they want like a picnic table with shades. Others do want some play, or for kids to have unstructured play or educational. And the other thing is that they like the immersive nature of Martin's Park. That keeps coming up all the time. And this is the one that provides the more immersive experience.
And what was your sample group? Was it I mean, I mean, I've been in a lot of community projects, and it's always difficult to know.
Yes,
I mean,
right.
you can't get it right, basically.
Right, it's hard to get
There's
it
always
right.
going to be people who say, "Oh, this is terrible," and you say,
Yeah.
"Why didn't you come to the meetings?" And you say, "What meetings?" But it's like
It's true.
it's
So-
true. I mean, if you have a good group, a good, fairly representative group, it
In
helps.
our opinion, I think I'm speaking for all in the team, but we always thought that the groups were never too big. We had a lot of participation with small groups, but all groups at all times, they always thought they should be multi-generational. But at the beginning of the process, there was also the idea of a lot of play and the multi-generational spaces, but and the social gathering. But as we found out in the last two meetings, there were strong voices pointing out the two playgrounds that Shri indicated, and also that the play is not something they won't even maintain. Playground equipment, I meant. So the social gathering and the multi-generational gathering was maybe half of the interest. Now it's maybe the whole interest they have in.
It was interesting that you asked, Mitch, because the 19 April gathering didn't have any youngsters at all at the meeting. It was all adults, and they were mostly emphasizing the need for more green space, more planting, more,
Hello. Yeah. Hello.
Yes, go ahead.
Yeah, and I think, yes, we were losing the youngest part from the beginning to the end. It's like we have more participation of kids and young people at the beginning. And then I think we focused so much on the playground because we had a lot of feedback from kids. Yeah.
And then the second meeting, which was this past Saturday, where Carrie and I put the drawings out and all the perspectives, we had another round of people come. Many of them hadn't been to the April 19 meeting, and some children came. And the children, of course, were enthusiastically looking at the play equipment, right? And they were annotating what they liked. But a lot of the adults who have children were saying, we don't need more playgrounds. We need a space for multi-generational sort of green space. So it was kind of a revelation, to be perfectly honest, to me, because our mindset was about play. And this is really, as Adrian calls it, a more immersive environment where there is some play, there is definitely educational elements on flora, fauna, the idea of enrichment in this environment for all generations. And I think that's actually a great outcome.
Yeah.
Because they need this resilient space.
Is it sort of is this area Around Nubian, you're near Nubian Square?
Actually, Crisula can answer this.
This is a lot more south of there. I'm going to Nubian Square this weekend though, and Monday for a big celebration they're having. I love that area. Yeah.
I
But this
mean,
is not, is this
it's
sort of a
walking
heat island?
distance.
I mean, is there a shortage of green space there? Here,
There's-
where you're doing
So
this?
There's a
they have
community garden down the street too, as well as those other parks.
They have a food growing lot, kitty corner across from this, right?
Oh, that's right. Yeah, I remember that.
Yeah, it's not a place where it's shaded and people can sit.
Right.
You know, it's a hot space. It's good because it'll handle water, but this is more of a park-like mini environment.
I mean, the main challenge for this scheme, if we move forward, would be the establishment of the plants that take a period for that to happen. So we need to really think or discuss with the client the availability of water. I mean, many times that is solved through the bid, where the contractors is hired for a maintenance period of 2 years. They have maintenance trial and they fill out the gator bags with the trees and stuff like that. But it requires some care, you know, and everyone responded so well to the green immersive thing. But if that's going to be the main feature, so we need to make it right, and to do it so we need to really think how to make it succeed. Plants are tricky, as you know, so.
Yeah. Could we look at the perspective view of this one again?
Mm-hmm.
So that's one.
Just looking up from the one near the circle.
Yeah.
This is the small one. This is the middle one.
This was in response to two of the kids who definitely wanted a zip line.
Uh-huh. Oh.
And
this is from the top tier, or the top,
Yeah.
the larger area, down.
the one here on the right, I mean, you have such a nicer structure of what this actually, you know, you have your fanning
Yeah, but this is a
logs.
placeholder. This is good.
Yeah, it's a placeholder, exactly.
What I would question is, well, there's some benches,
Mm.
but if this is multi-generational, those are the first two benches I've seen.
I
And
think there are knee walls, are there not?
No,
for
that's another, but that's the main thing
Yeah,
that
we
needs
will
to
have to do that for
evolve
sure.
into,
Mhm.
right? Yes,
Yeah.
more seating,
Right.
probably consolidated shade for that seating.
And maybe knee walls where,
Yeah,
right.
picnic
so-
tables, perhaps.
Right.
I mean, rocks don't count for elderly people for sitting.
No,
Absolutely not, yes.
no, they're more for the children. Agreed.
So I think a shaded seating is and possibly a table for
Yes, for
that
sure.
for social stuff. I think is good.
Yeah, they were mentioning also some fitness area for them,
Mhm,
for
mhm.
adults.
So we might put a fitness piece of equipment for them, for stretching or pull-ups or, yeah.
Yeah, and there's some for all abilities, so they can be used by kids and elderly people from all abilities. So there are some equipment, maybe we can go hard on that type of equipment. So, because it's also kind of a play equipment, so.
Yeah.
Mhm.
Some teams did the research. I don't know if it was yours there or Crisula, but some teams pre-selected some of that, but it didn't make it
No.
into the final scheme.
Yeah, we have a couple of them. Yeah, we can share with you all the links that we have.
Well, I think in justice to all the teams, it might be nice to pull some details in from the other two. If this,
Absolutely, yeah.
Of course, of course.
I
I
mean, I think
think-
they were all quite spectacular ideas.
Mhm.
So, so the next steps are going to be a smaller working group of essentially headed by Adrian with people who are manipulating the software to take this, the preferred scheme, which will be obviously a hybrid of the schemes, to the next level. I will join in when I can remotely, because I'll be overseas. And it would be also good to set up a schedule where all of the members who were part of the teams, like Vero and Crisula and so on, also join in every so often for reaction, right? And Mitch, you should, I know you're busy, but we always like your input. So.
Yeah, that'll be fun.
So we could send you the larger group meeting schedule, so you have the links if you want to put them in your calendar, and
sure,
join as you can, right?
Yeah.
So just to end this discussion, Sharon Cho said that they have a board meeting in late June, that it usually gathers a large group of people. And of course, I'm not back. I fly back the 4th of July. So I was sort of pushing for a early July presentation, or maybe mid-July. Adrian?
Yeah, but I think we should still have something like in the 90% of development.
Yeah.
It's also just schematic design, so it's not something we cannot accomplish. So by then, by their meeting, so they can, so Sharon and Renee can share some of these graphics with the larger board group or whoever.
Okay.
Directors.
Yeah. So
in all fairness can I just say one quick comment? In all fairness to the community, you've got to scale back the plantings, the lush vegetation, because that's not going to work, I don't think, in my experience.
This planting is way too optimistic.
It's just so seductive and beautiful, but it's not realistic.
Right.
It's super optimistic too.
Yeah. I mean,
I think we have to inject a degree of realism into the final, right?
Especially if you're going for a grant. I mean, if you're going to CPA funding or something, they're experienced at looking things, so they're not going to fall for the flowers.
Right.
Yeah.
Maybe I should not send this to Fadine then.
Well, I think it's fine as a draft, but I just think that it's...
Well, I don't want her to be negatively disposed.
Yeah.
Well, or the opposite. Maybe you have a lot of flowers and now you don't have any flowers.
Right.
Later, so.
Right. So maybe
it's good to avoid the overpromise or the underpromise, right? So to be more realistic in the end, as you put it first, Mitch. Yeah.
Right.
It's always the renderings. Promising what you can't give.
Any other comments?
Is the building, the big white thing, is that on the north side, or which side is that?
It's west. So north is a little bit looking to the right.
Okay.
I don't know how to explain it, but...
So north is...
No, it's right there.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
And the building you were looking at is the line under water flow, right? That's the wall you were looking at. But actually that wall is like a dark wood cladding facade, so it could be painted light color, but it doesn't look like that. And the one towards the south.
I mean, we dematerialized the context because we didn't want to attract attention to it.
But in a way, it takes the sun from the west out of the equation, which is good for some plants and bad for others. So it takes the heat exposure away a little bit, which is maybe not bad given
Yeah.
the climate change that we're experiencing now.
I
Mhm.
mean, I think the idea of a tree canopy is kind of important because they will need the shade.
Yeah.
They will desperately need the shade. So, right. Okay, so we move to the ECC.
Sure.
Romy, did you have any comment on this one?
I am very impressed by all three schemes. I think each and every one of them would be quite wonderful there. My personal choice would also be the meander. So I'm kind of glad that that's the direction that's been pursued. And I love the sense of order and chaos. It's kind of intertwined in a sense that it feels raw. It feels like a piece of wild nature. This
Yeah.
immersive experience that you're trying to create. So yeah.
Yeah. It's a bit of a haven that way. Yeah.
Yeah.
So we'll see where it goes.
Cool.
Okay.
A lot of work you guys have done.
Yeah, the teams worked nonstop, and it was hard. Sometimes some folks were overwhelmed.
Yeah.
There was a lot of coaching and mentoring, and
Good.
and Adrian was guiding with his expertise.
Yeah, we couldn't have done it without Adrian. He really
Yeah,
I
was.
try
Adrian
not to
was
influence I was trying not to influence the design too much, though, for the teams to really own and be proud of. I think you guys should be proud of what you did.
you should
I
be
tried to
very
be not
proud.
invasive. Now will be.
Ah.
I'm even more excited
Not,
to see what we come up with next. Yeah, and pulling it all together.
now will be very very involved, but I wanted to really just help
Well, just to say
to
that
bring out that.
when you're applying for funding, you should definitely include as much documentation of this process, including the various designs, because
Oh yeah, that's
they
interesting.
like to see
Yes.
that, and so those things will have an impact.
Okay, good to know. I think the process is important. Yeah.
Even the learning process, if I understand correctly, Mitch, will be so the people involved, how that pan out. That may be
The
interesting.
people involved and the community involvement is the
Yeah.
big thing for that,
Yes.
I think.
Yes.
Cool.
Yeah. Okay. ECC, time, space, existence. Mitch, it's yours.
Okay, you're gonna have to do the advancing thing.
Oh, no problem.
So this is a project that we've been working on for years, actually. The portable play concept sort of came out of our first project in Mexico. And even before that, I mean, I remember Shireen talking about modular stuff or way early. But it sort of became apparent that it would be good to have something that could be deployed quickly and easily in some sort of prefabricated setup so that it wasn't a major carpentry project every time we did a playground. And I think that personally, I think that there are situations that call for both. I mean, I think that the carpentry ones have a place and are good, but the portable play, which is a prefabricated modular thing, could possibly have a broader use and application in different situations. So that was the genesis of this. And these two, there were 4 designs that we sort of narrowed down to and decided to prototype 2 of them. And we decided to prototype all of them. And we had already started prototyping this one, the Hex, when we found out that we had gotten into the Venice Biennale. And so that kind of changed our focus a little bit.
It's actually the ECC concurrent with the Venice Biennale. It's
right.
not actually the Venice
Right,
Biennale.
right, exactly.
Sorry, yeah.
Yeah, and so this one was this one was selected by ECC, and which is not the same quite as the Biennale. It's during the same period, but it's different management, and you pay to go. It's not like you're sponsored by your country or something. So we had to raise the money to do it, which was actually pretty easy. People were very excited about it. Anyway, this was the first one. So this is a full-size one, and will be brought home and deployed and tested here. It's already gotten a lot of use there. Kids just, it's incredible to see that the way that kids instinctively know that it's a playground and they just throw bananas on it. They just, yeah. And the staff kept asking us, are we supposed to tell them not to go on it? And we said, we don't care. We think it's okay. It's fine. It's something, yeah. So they didn't quite know what to do, but I think it's going to be fine. I think it's going to get used, which is exciting. There's a part that's not complete yet, right under that person hanging from the
Here, yeah.
There's a net that goes there, which we have a sort of a placeholder net in there now, and we have to finalize the technical aspects of that. But that will be an important feature of it. And it is something that can be flat packed. It all comes apart and it fit in a big crate, and all the components come apart. So conceivably, it could be shipped somewhere. We learned a lot on this one about the weight and the scale of the components made it difficult for shipping very great distances. It was expensive to get it to Venice, but it could conceivably be broken down into smaller units. The hexes could have joints in them somewhere. There are possibilities for that, and the materials would have to be lightened, and it would have to be cheaper to produce, those are basically the same lessons we learned on the other one as well, that they're very labor intensive. So these are the little maquettes. We had a whole display there with a video screen with animation done by Andre, showing the assembly of both how they could be unloaded from a truck and assembled and put up, and different ways they could be, for the cube climber, different ways it could be set up.
Yeah, the cube climber is half scale.
And this is half scale, which we decided to do after we knew we were going to be sending it to Venice, just because it was prohibitive to do a full-size one in the time we had, which was very tight, as well as the weight and size. So this prototype, the concept of this one is that each color there, each little box cube, is a separate module, and they can be arranged in any number of ways. And then they could be accessorized with slides or other elements, play elements. But it's sort of a spatial kind of play, and the holes could be climbing elements as well. The thing about doing one half size like this, which was very helpful in terms of learning the issues of connections and sort of the relationships, because it actually gets kind of complicated with the different overlaps. And when you want to be able to have a lot of variety available for arrangement, then you're kind of forced into it was interesting for me as the designer to start out with a more free-form thing, and then gradually, as you realize that it's a real modular thing, you're kind of constantly being forced into a much more regimented format in order for it to be able to match in different orientations. So that was interesting. And I think it has a lot of potential. The climbing, the holes are for climbing, the platforms are for sitting or whatever. They can have tunnels, it can have different.
Right, like there.
So yeah. So I think but what I was trying to say was when you do something of three-dimensional shape, half scale, it's actually 1/8 volume because it's half the height, half the width, and half the depth. So
Right.
if you doubled the height and doubled the width and doubled the depth, it would take 4 of these it would take 8 of these to make one of the big ones. So the big one will be, this is like a toy, and it's and I think it actually this one could work in a preschool or something indoors as something for a school, and we're sort of exploring that for a way to use this, which was an incredible amount of work. So it would be great to use it in some kind of situation where they don't have access to equipment or something. So, but the process was fascinating and it was way too intense. The time frame was so compressed and these were basically sort of built more like pieces of furniture than a mass-produced playground, so that there's a lot of things, and our goal is not that at all. Our goal is something that is quick and relatively and
You
easy.
have to have it durable in the elements. So how many coats of varnish did you give them?
This is oil. The other one, that one's pretty durable. It's got 4 coats of spar varnish. So I mean, it's like wood, and it's a good marine plywood and fur.
Right.
So if maintained, this would be very durable, actually.
So yeah, of course, these are meant for outdoors mostly, although they could be indoor if you had a high area, because they don't require foundations. This is what's so interesting.
Right, that's the idea. This one, they were nervous. They put little clips down to the underneath the chips. There's a panel, but it's very stable, actually. And in Diana Khalifa is the one who designed it. She had repeated the module, and it got there were like 3 more of them, and it got really tall, and that would have been not advisable in this situation.
I think it can grow linearly. The extra module at the top might be too risky, although it wouldn't go over this module, it would go over this, right?
Yes, yeah. Well, it could. I mean, it's just like a beehive. It could grow forever, but you have to figure out what's realistic. So,
and what's safe.
Yeah. But the techniques, the assembly system, all worked very well. I think the shortcomings basically were that it was too expensive, too heavy, and difficult to ship. But that those, I think, are things that could be successfully addressed. It might require some changes in scale and material and stuff, but I think that the basic concept was proven very successfully. And
got a ton of press, right? I mean, imagine the foot traffic because of the Biennale and the ECC.
This is right next to the Arsenale, which is this garden is right next to the big show place. So there are a lot of people going through. And and any kids who happen to be unfortunately being dragged along by their architect parents to the Biennale are probably greatly relieved to see this. So,
but it's a lot of fun.
Yeah.
So
Congratulations.
No, thank you. Yeah. It was
and Mitch, how many of you were in Venice? Tell the group.
there were, I think there were 7 or 8 of us, I think. And then Tina's husband was there. Also, he had a exhibit in the Biennale itself.
Here he is. He's right
Yeah,
there.
that's him. He's a handsome guy, nappily dressed, hanging out on the matching the flowers and the yes, he's really fun. He's great. He was a real rabble rouser in the Arsenale because his exhibit was about labor rights for architectural workers and getting the people who work long hours at low pay, getting them recognized and paid for their time. So it was very interesting. He got a lot of publicity for it. Was a
I
group
bet.
of architects collaborative, I think it's called. Anyway, yeah, it was great. And that little model there of the hex was made by Andre. And
This one.
yeah, and then to the left of this shot, you can't see it, but to the left of the screen is a timeline of GDI. So this exhibit, the indoor one, was sort of the history of GDI a little bit.
I didn't have a good picture from any of you to, actually, you're the only one who sent me those pictures. So, excuse me.
It's hard to photograph that. The timeline doesn't come across real well in the photograph. But yeah, it was really great to have the thing from Andre, I think, in particular, because he's worked so hard, and to have his handiwork in it as well was really nice.
He's amazing. And on the portable plate prototyping, I think it's fair to say that there is one other prototype which is also in production right now, where Mitch and I are going to evaluate the triangular modules for strength and stability. And if we're happy with them and the way they go together, then we're going to send some details to the fabricator, and he's going to actually complete all the elements for the module. And then in July, sometime, we will assemble it. And, you know, by then we will have essentially, between Mitch's full-scale cube climber, this and the triangular one, will have 75% of the modules completed. In the meantime, the simplest one actually is Carly's, and she should work on the detailing of that, so we can also contract with a fabricator.
Yeah,
And you know, I'm going to talk to Rand and see if he and can work with her on that, on refining the details. I mean, I don't know how much.
She's pretty experienced, but
Is she? Yeah, okay.
yeah, so I don't know, but yeah, so yeah, maybe he could help too. Yeah, so it's a really good group, and we really supported. It was a team. People did different parts of the job, and there's a lot left to do. So yeah, I'm going to build a full-size version of the Cube Climber this summer, and we're going to be using the big grant we got to produce the triangle one and the Cube Climber, and maybe Harley's as well, and then be able to present back to our funders in late August or September.
September, I think, at this point. Yeah, if we're lucky.
Yeah.
We're in the process of finalizing an interim report for the Schooner Foundation, which, by the way, needs to be submitted first to see.
Right, I saw
for
that.
approval. So Yeah. How are we doing for time? We're good.
We're good.
Any comments or questions before we move to Romi's project?
Maybe we should install the modular plane into Trina per side. Because it's very flexible. I mean, it's not very prescribed, which is maybe what we need there. Right?
That would be great. That would be cool.
I think Carly's would be great there, especially because it's a musical engagement element.
Uh-huh.
But
Yeah.
to be determined.
Okay. Yeah, well, yeah, let's hear from you, Romy.
Yeah. Just looking at this project, it makes me think that I would have loved to have joined a CDI a year earlier and be part
Yeah.
of this. It's I was in the shop with Mitch as he was working on it, and it's really lovely project, including the tiny little maquettes, and which are just so quick to manipulate and to test configurations of. Yeah. So what Shirin is naming my project is a dialogue with Abara in El Paso about possibilities of contributing something to their kind of incredible work. And you know, they sit on the border, they work in shelters in Juarez. And part of the difficulty was to really understand now, as a result of new restrictions, what is happening, how it is affecting their activities, how it's changing, what is happening in the shelters themselves that have really become homes to the communities there that are in a sense trapped there. At, at least a large portion of the community is there.
In El
Not
Paso or
in
Juarez?
Juarez,
In Juarez.
not just in transition now, but in more in limbo for a duration that nobody can say, and that in itself is creating challenges, design challenges, because particularly thinking about children who are now there not just for weeks, but for months and perhaps longer. Understanding their needs and what we can do for them is kind of critical. We had another talk with Sammy and Victoria, and it's basically three of us. It's Sean, Caitlin, who recently joined, and we recruited a guy called
Mustafa?
Mustafa Ahben, who teaches at Elon University in North Carolina and is an AI guy, an AI researcher, particularly applied AI, which is really interesting for us, which means how do you work with AI to produce applications that people can work with and visual applications. And we are thinking in two directions. One is more long term because they have a huge development project, very ambitious development project, which we've mentioned before, called their Borough House. They have a large plot of land, and they already have quite developed plans for structures and that they want to build there. But there'll be openings for offering different types of designs that are more perhaps installation-like and more artistic. And some inspirations came together, beginning with that video that Shirin sent of projects by Ronald Real, who's an artist slash architect who has created many scenarios, but has also built some fascinating stuff on the border itself, including just a set of simple seesaws that where kids can ride on both sides of the physical border, and they actually implemented them, which is quite fantastic. And completely unrelated, Sean turned me on to projects, 3D large scale 3D printing projects using Adobe. And it turns out it's the same guy. And he's experimenting lots with alternative materials, including casting in 3D casting in Adobe, building structures that resemble traditional sculptures. And it just occurred to us how wonderful it would be to use a similar technology and build out of Adobe some structure and have some ideas for particular installations. So I reached out to him. And after 2 months of silence, I got a very dismissive 2-line note that is not up his alley or something. I don't think he even read through my email, but it's fine. I'll push through. I'll follow through. I'll see if I can.
What's his name again?
His name is Ronald Ryle.
Oh, that's him. Yes,
and,
yes.
And his company is his joint company with his partner Virginia Sanfratello, and they call themselves Royal Sanfratello. Their two surnames, and they've done some really remarkable work, large scale and small work, and small scale and conceptually interesting, materially fascinating. A lot
He's
of
an activist. He's a
So I think he also knows and perhaps even has worked with the borough, and I had a feeling that he would be enthusiastic to. He just said the structures you propose we cannot cast, something like that. So I don't think he understood that I sent him I sent him the same project that I sent you a while ago, and I said, this is the inspiration for what I want to do, and I offered to collaborate on something, and to see this idea just as a venture point, so we'll see. I know another architecture professor at Harvard, Israeli actually, who escaped just the horrendousness of what's going on with her family, and is now here. And she specializes in using local materials in a kind of in a way that could. I don't know if she does 3D casting, but it doesn't have to go. The idea of building out of a borough something there, out of Adobe something there, and it's a long-term plan. It's really not anything immediate, but it's something I think worth pursuing and kind of
not the Loeb Fellow, is it?
Interesting.
It's not.
No, it's a woman. Her name is Karen Lee.
Okay.
Bar Sinai.
Okay. I was thinking of what's her name? It'll come to me. I'm sorry. I'm blanking.
Anyway,
yeah.
The other direction we were pursuing is more immediate, is to try to facilitate or create something that would facilitate needs in the shelters themselves and for the kids. And when we were speaking before, we had the idea of some type of treasure trove or a chest with that we could load up and customize to fit the different needs of the different kids in different communities, different ages. This is not so, it's certainly not an architecture project, and I don't know even how much it is a design project. It's more to see what do these kids need? Can we facilitate that? Can we give them something, it's just that will create some joy and will occupy the time in a meaningful way there. But as part of this idea, we began kind of also pursuing this idea of creating a way for the kids to to
Document?
express express and narrate their own individual stories, as under kind of following this kind of this the repeated motto of giving kids giving a
Agency.
voice, agency, and the voice, and that is very powerful and kind of idea that has been at the background of a lot of our thinking. Back in kind of the 90s and the beginning of the aughts, you still say aughts, the 2000s, there was a fad, modern fad. There was a movement, a documentary movement, both. It began in still photography and also developed into video, of giving tools to the communities themselves to document themselves. Giving disposable cameras when before digital age, and to kids or to teens, to inmates,
Yeah.
many different communities in which the documentarian doesn't have real access, to allow for the type of intimate documentation that perhaps otherwise you cannot get, and then work with the community to curate the output either. And there were many different projects that took on many forms. Some ended up being films, some ended up being just shows of photography shows, some integrated the documentary material shot by a director, or the director with the material collected from the community. But the idea of giving the tools to the community is something that we picked up on, and we have been thinking how it could be an interesting way to allow the kids to tell stories. Now, how bringing that into the digital age, and to the age of AI, allows us to resolve a problem that we've had from the beginning. How do we represent the kids while keeping their and create the kind of intimacy of photojournalism, of a photo document, without compromising their privacy and keeping them secure. And the idea that we came up with is that we could have them take photographs. The photographs may contain or may not contain their images. If they contain the images, we can in principle use AI software to convert the image to a graphic image, but not the whole image. We keep the realistic surroundings and only their representation, enough to mask their identity. We can also give them, for example, prompts that will allow them to recreate scenes that are either scenes of an event in their life, or fantasies about their ideal day, or fantasies about the future, but superimposed on the images that they shoot of their environment. So, for example, they can document their immediate surroundings, but they can introduce elements through prompts of um, of you know, they can introduce fantastic elements like I don't know, a rainbow, or they can introduce, also integrate it with another place that is imaginary, that is superimposed, and creates these hybrid images that are kind of an expression of their imaginations, their fantasies, their memories. And we began to kind of think in more pragmatic terms, if that is possible and how it might be possible. And in speaking with Mustafa, he introduced us to a whole kind of host of software that can answer various functions of what we are looking for. And the idea right now is to see if it's possible to integrate them into one application with an attractive and easy to use kind of interface, to have it run both as a web application and something that is standalone, for example, on an iPad, and to develop develop a specific methodology for how this would work within the community, what we would need to make this happen, how much this can be a standalone with somebody, with a guide who is trained to realize this within the particular community. And so for the three of us, the next step is to come up with 2 or 3 more concrete, detailed scenarios of how this will play out, and then to run it by Abara, get their feedback. So that is where we are right now with it.
Amazing.
That's great.
It's really amazing. I have a question for you. So, first of all, I think it's incredibly promising as a project. Honestly, what comes to mind in my head is all of the photography that we have seen and on social media that is being documented by very young, inexperienced individuals, you know, and in this horrific war that's going on, right? And it's garnering so much reaction. So giving these kids agency through documentary photography with transformation, as you were describing, sounds like an amazing way to give them a voice. And you know, the one thing that I'm thinking about, you know, I'm always trying to solve the problem. That limits my creativity, but I tend to think that if you had a population, a target population, and this is why I put youth projects on the screen. And and my thinking is, if you had an age group, you know, you decide, I don't know, 10, 11 to 18, and said, you know, this is this is a population that is keen on learning and having agency. You know, they're coming into their own, and you know, we always focus on the little kids, but these are children too, right? And
Yeah, of course.
and they have dreams and aspirations much bigger than their environments, and this would give them the opportunity to do this. Then you would say, okay, no more than this number of, you know, say 20. I'm throwing a number, I don't know. And we could fundraise to get the tablets, which could take the software, the cameras. I don't know enough about disposable cameras, and we could figure out who would actually train them for use, and, you know, a protocol to check in regularly, to deposit all this. Yeah, it's like, it's a phenomenal project.
You know, I didn't even go into all the logistics, but a lot of what you're mentioning, we have already begun to discuss.
Yeah.
And of course, you know, if you're working with 8-year-olds and you're working with 14-year-olds, it's a very different group.
Very different, yes.
And also what you can expect from them is very different.
That's right.
Training is key. There are many issues to making this successful, and not just a one-off. And I don't know how many of you read the article that I had forwarded, but it also brings up many issues with the naive approach that you can just give. You know, you can give cameras to a community, and that this reflects this, and there are many issues to what that means to give cameras to a community and then work with their images. And how do you do it? How much agencies? How much are you working on the back? Yeah, but a lot of issues that we have to address. But I think some of the answers will come from Abara, because we need to know from them if this idea, if there are particular shelters with particular groups of kids of particular ages that this idea is suitable for. And on our side, we have to see if we can actually overcome the technical kind of challenges, and kind of piece this together, because we want to use many existing, you know, we're not developing software from scratch. The idea is that it taps into a lot of different software and with one API, with one user interface, and there will be nice kind of design issues, screen design, but design issues. How do you make it appealing? How do you make it simple? How do you make it legible? And but imagine just, for example, giving kids a prompt to describe their perfect day, and how they would take just an image of the wall that they shoot, or, you know, and transform it.
Do you think that there would be any possibility? I'm just thinking, I think this is really great. Could there be like a way of using these stories to do like an exchange type situation with, say, children of the same age in the US, so that there was like a direct kind of like a pen pal sort of thing, but a more
you can easily
be really powerful on both sides, I think, because there's so much depersonalization of these people that to do it, I mean, you would have to be careful not to be too upsetting or too scary, or there's a lot of issues it brings up, but I think that the migrants that I've worked with are desperate for communication with people. I mean, I'm still in communication with people that I've worked with in Juarez, and it means a lot to them when you just say, "Hey, how's it going?" They know
They're
that
desperate for
they
connection.
they exist, and I think that
So one way is to simply share your stories through through a web page, to just
yeah,
curate a
but I'm
web
thinking
page.
of a more intimate way
But
that's not just like a anonymous, like
yeah,
how many, how many,
yeah, then it becomes kind of like a TikTok site where
yeah,
kids post. But another way is to create shared pictures, shared
yeah,
whiteboards that kids
be really
can
cool.
can work on
Or
together.
some kind of a blog where they can actually interact and post imagery, but also check in with each other, right?
But I think Mitch's suggestion of actually creating together, of working together on a shared platform, a shared image, could be also one way to go, and that could be that takes more organization
Yeah,
and to facilitate that on both sides. But I think it could be a remarkable experience.
I think there might be
And
organizations in the US that would be, I mean, say like Haitian groups or such that are feeling very disassociated with their homeland and their family and stuff, and so I don't know, but a Mexican or migrant on the border situation would be easier, uh, but to have kind of connections might be good, might be interesting.
I we just really beginning to think through
Yeah, it's exciting.
possibilities. But yeah, and Sean and I, and hopefully Mustafa will join this Friday. We're just having a chat, a Zoom chat about this,
Great.
and yeah.
I need to take off, but is there anything else we have to check in tonight?
Tomorrow morning, are you available
Oh,
early?
yeah, I can't. I'm sorry. I was going to stay after with you, but I can't.
It's fine. It's late.
Yeah.
How about tomorrow morning?
I think so. Yeah, let's touch base tomorrow morning.
Okay. Let me ask, Romy, I don't want to barge in on your meeting, but if
It's
you
you're
are,
well.
send
You're well,
me the link if you are open
yeah,
to, because I'm
definitely.
curious to hear the
And
discussion.
anyone who wants can join. It'll be kind of we want to try to come up with a number of more concrete scenarios, and kind of we have some ideas of what we want to talk about, but it'll be great if you join, and anyone who
Yeah,
wants.
I'd love to. And fortunately, I'm not as encumbered as I was before.
Yeah.
So, you know, one of the things that comes to mind, I'm obviously not familiar with all the discussion, but it could be that it's scaled in tranches, you know, of, you know, do this much first, and then if is successful, then do this much more, and then this much, you know what I mean, and build up to, but because it's ambitious.
It's quite ambitious, but yeah,
Quite ambitious.
it can also take the form of a picture storybook where
Yes.
there is actually there
Yeah.
are actually scenes one after another, and you can compile them into like a comic strip, or
That would be great.
Yeah.
I like
yeah, that's yeah,
All sorts of possibilities.
taken many directions, but yeah. Okay.
Wonderful. So I just wanted to, so I'll look for the link from you. And I just wanted to note that in July, we're not going to have a bi-monthly meeting. It's possible that we would convene, though, a group to maybe do a brainstorming session or something. However, you know, Romy, we'll look for you to signal if that's of interest. And then, in other words, the broader meeting where sometimes, you know, we have 20 people, the next one will be in September. And just so you know, the bi-monthly meeting is always the second Wednesday of every other month. So the next one is September, and you can go on the BSA calendar, and it lists which NOCOs are hosting meetings, and you could just click on it and register, and they send you the Zoom link.